What's up, everyone? Welcome to Mind Coast. I hope everyone's doing better with each passing day. As usual, let's begin with our reflection. Intention 13. Dealing with depression. Is there a weight inside you that you can't ever escape feeling? Are the activities that you enjoy, the company of others, or moments for celebration not enough to distract you from feeling distress? And does that misery always trace back to specific thoughts or memories? Or maybe those recollections have already faded with time, but they left behind a bitter disposition. Can you recall how long it's been that you began each day already wishing for its end to come, or that you could avoid what it has in store? Does it feel normal not having anything to look forward to, or for any excitement to inevitably give out to your own reflections? Is intoxication of any form the only way for you to hold on to some sort of lightheartedness, or even just make it through the day? Being unable to escape feeling that our lives aren't worth the energy that they demand isn't to be taken lightly growing accustomed to, but it's something that so many people are struggling to fight their way through. Even if our lives are different from each other, is there a way for all of us to deal with depression? Before getting into our discussion, it's important that I clarify that depression has a wide array of applications when being used to describe someone, but it's not a singular format or a universal experience. There's what can be referred to as clinical depression, which is a chronic mental illness that requires medical intervention. But that's not what this intention is meant to focus on or address how to manage. For our contextual understanding, depression in this discussion is a non-medical incapability to find and sustain happiness where it exists. This may seem apparent to realize when we can take a step back and holistically evaluate our lives. But how many people have such a heightened personal awareness to be able to trace the co-developing interplay between their emotions and experiences, let alone the availability or memory or commitment to be proactive in that inner search? For those who can, it's much easier to outsource that diagnosis to a therapist or whoever we trust enough and is willing. Except not everyone has the fortune of those opportunities in relationships. And yet even with, there's still no escaping that they won't always be there for us. But something that we can all become capable of doing independently is a proper self-examination. Depression isn't so simple to acknowledge, partly because it isn't just feeling sad, even if for a prolonged period of time. In fact, that kind of response to unfortunate events is healthy. What's actually problematic is not being able to accept that we need a change in our lives because of either how that recognition of vulnerability feels like an admission of weakness, or we don't know where to begin looking for a solution. Instead of self-declaring, "I don't want my life to continue this way," which takes a lot of courage to admit and continue living through, it's a lot easier on our self-esteem to assign our state of low spirits to fatigue, stress, or any other variable that gives us the psychological comfort of having an external solution. Quite honestly, it's a lot less scary to convince ourselves that we're simply overdue for a rest or a change in scenery, or in more risky scenarios, that we just need to drink or some other form of intoxication to take the edge off. But for everyone here who knows that their motivation has been dying out, that their patience and charity can hardly stand up to the challenges you're facing, and that what each day demands is too much to remain unchanged, it's time to acknowledge that your life is due for a change, and the first step is yours to make. For us to be able to find out what's draining our spirit, we have to trace through everything that we're devoting our energy to and making a priority. Within each of us is a natural desire for fulfillment in every aspect of our lives. or for us to at least be witness to its development. And when we find ourselves to be stagnant or underwhelming in accordance to the present defining standard that we've set for our physical, social, professional, or any other facet of life, that can be where roots for depression begin to manifest from. We all have a human tendency to build expectations for ourselves. Oftentimes they start off grandiose, but with time they eventually alter and conform to a more mature perspective in how our experiences thus far have shaped our sense of capability. There isn't a way for any of us to avoid this truth of reality, and that fact is one of the major reasons for why people are depressed, because they don't know how to properly deal with alterations and, more critically, disappointments that encounter with their expectations for their lives. When this takes place on a smaller scale, such as a planned event not unfolding desirably or an unexpected disagreement occurring, more often than not, we're able to emotionally recover with time and support. But when it comes to those more defining facets of life, and we have to face that what we believe is attainable might still not come to fruition, it's not so difficult to get lost in our pursuit of avoiding that, or even giving up altogether. For example, those of us who feel a strong importance for having many friends, or have been led to making that a priority, but have also found it difficult to relate to most people, can find ourselves progressively withdrawing from public activities and attempting to initiate new relationships over time, because those built-up disappointments have become a part of our disposition. Or in another variation, we instead respond by forcefully altering our personality and what we stand for in exchange for acceptance, and getting lost in that constant self-imposed detachment from genuineness is how depression manifests accordingly. Those are just a couple of examples from one aspect in life, but in all aspects of life, wherever we're unable to accept that, in the present, what is not what we desire, is why we can't get past depression and move forward. Whatever it is that's not unfolding as desired isn't a reason for us to dread what's still in the making, or believe that our goals are no longer attainable, because the unexpected that we encounter and the unclear through which we venture can end up giving us more than we sought out. We just need the strength to remember that our present isn't our destiny. Once we've realized all these things for ourselves, it remains up to us to make the changes that are necessary to a healthier life. It's not mandatory that the goals and desires that we hold must be changed, but seeing as our pursuit of them thus far has led to a state of such exhaust, there must be a revision to how we pursue them and define what's enough for comfort. Depression is hard to deal with, but in our struggle and, what I hope for all of us, eventual triumph, we gain a far better understanding, perspective, and acceptance of our capabilities and limitations, which we carry with us forever onward. Because even though unexpected and the unwelcome will continue to present themselves, we'll be strong enough and truly understand that the unpredictable nature of reality should never be enough to stop us from refining our perspective. Our desires aren't our needs, and our lives are still complete without them. If a change you're hoping for is enough to make you miserable in its absence, then you should evaluate where the priority is coming from and if it's truly of need. Otherwise, give it all that you've got to be and remain faithful, patient, and true to yourself. Thanks for listening, everyone. Feel welcome to join our community, and I hope we meet again. Peace.